What's up, everybody? Happy Thursday and welcome to the Early Edge. We have a packed show for you today. If you're looking for college basketball picks, NBA picks, golf picks, NFL picks, soccer picks, you came to the right place. Speaking of picks, let's look at the recap screen and see how we did yesterday. 3 up, 3 down. Obviously looking for more of a winning record there. Not a terrible day. I'll tell you what, my Kentucky first half play, that was an absolute no-doubter. Up about 20 at halftime. We'll take that every time. And we'll take all you in the chat. David Talk, I see you. Gordon Bombay Sports giving out a pick late night last night. I saw you do that. Mark Hood, everybody hit the like button if you could. And speaking of doing things or things that you can do to help this show out, how about voting in the Sports Podcast Awards? We are a finalist for Best Fantasy Betting and Gaming category in the Sports Podcast Awards. To help us bring home some hardware, all you got to do, use the link in the description and go vote. Voting is open until January 28th, so hit the link and vote for the Early Edge. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to bring in the stars of the show. I told you all the things we were going to talk about, and who am I going to do that with? None other than Buckets. Oh, there he is. Propstarz, Danny Brasco. This is the dream team right here, folks. We have so much to talk about Buckets. I got to ask you, though, because you gave out your schedule on Twitter today. It was a lot of petting Freya, a lot of love for Freya, and there was a soccer game at 2 o'clock. Let me just ask you, because I want clarification myself. The official pick you have today, does it pertain to that 2 o'clock soccer match?
Yes, it does. The schedule, I hinted at a match between Napoli and Fiorentina in the Italia Supercoppa, and that will be my bet later on here in the show, Sia.
Absolutely love it. Danny Brasco, I know you're coming in here with some UFC perhaps, but usually you arm yourself late in the week with an NFL pick. I trust you've got one for this show?
I got a little bit of both. See, a UFC 297 coming out of Toronto, massive card, and of course, NFL divisional round playoffs. I got to get involved. So a little bit of both there for you.
And Proppy, I know on this show we've got some SportsLine picks in the NCAA, but prop picks for the NBA. That's your department today, correct?
It is indeed. I'm fired up. See, I'm also fired up for this UFC card, Danny. Curious to hear your thoughts on the main event. I've got a buddy who actually thinks that DDP is one of the best values he's seen all year to win outright. So I'm curious to see what Danny thinks about this awesome UFC card.
Very, very interesting. And I know some of you are wanting some golf picks. So I'm going to give out some first round leaders in just a few minutes, some outright picks. And my official pick is going to pertain to a matchup in round 1. So stay tuned for that. Let's get to our marquee matchups, though. We got some fun things going on in the marquee matchup department. We're on the precipice of the divisional round. We've got the Super Bowl winner odds. We touched on this a little yesterday, and I know people are sort of hungry for a little bit more. Proppy, I'm going to start with you here. The obvious 49ers plus 175. They are the pick to win the Super Bowl. I should say the favorite. Ravens right behind them. The Bills right behind them. Of course, when we did our show, Proppy, before the season even started, we had a lot of these teams to win the Super Bowl. I, for example, had the 49ers to win it all. But here we are in the here and now. Do you see any value in any of these teams, whether it's at the top of the board or down the board?
Yes, yeah. If I'm betting here just purely from a value standpoint, this doesn't necessarily reflect who I think is going to ultimately, play or win the Super Bowl. This is more where I think there is some potential value based on the odds given to us. It'd probably be the Chiefs at plus 700, just based on the experience factor alone. You have obviously multiple MVP in Patrick Mahomes, who's experienced as they come. He's comfortable winning on the road. The team is starting to round into form, seeing Rashee Rice really emerge as a viable number 1 receiving threat, taking a lot of pressure. The running game has been really consistent. Andy Reid relying on a running back for the first time in a long time. The Chiefs defense playing well. So, yeah, I think the Chiefs have a good shot to win in Buffalo. And then obviously anything can happen against the Ravens. So I like the Chiefs at plus 700.
Absolutely, Danny. I'm going to go to you next. And don't forget what Mike McClure said about the Chiefs. If you want to roll them over as a money line play, you'll probably get better odds than the plus 700. Of course, that's contingent upon who they end up going against. But we're just dealing with this board right now, and it's hard to disagree with the Chiefs at that number. But Danny Brasco, I trust you'll have maybe another team?
I like the way Proppy broke it down. I like the way you just broke it down as well, Sia. Oftentimes, if you look at a future, especially, say, a favorite to win a college basketball tournament or a conference, you might get minus money. And you don't want to bet that typically because you're betting on winning multiple games for, say, minus 120, right? So instead of betting multiple games to win, you can bet one game maybe for plus odds at Chiefs money line. So I like that breakdown a lot, Sia. I like the Ravens to come out of the AFC. You see the Niners are the shortest odds because the NFC is the clearest path to victory for any team. And the Niners should handle business there. So I would go Ravens. I think it's their year to emerge from the AFC and have their shot. And I agree for the value, plus 700. The Chiefs is where it's at, but I like Ravens, Sia.
All right, well, we can't move on to our next marquee matchup, which is a very interesting one, without Buckets. I gotta ask you, because what's funny is before the show, we were discussing the Super Bowl odds. By the way, this is a true story. Like, this is something that actually happened, I don't know, like 2.5 minutes ago, maybe 3 minutes ago. Bucket, or before the show, Buckets said, "Oh, you forgot to put the Rams on there." Because apparently Buckets liked the Rams to win the Super Bowl, which, for the record, I don't think was a terrible pick. But Buckets, we don't have the Rams. Do you have another team to give us?
Yeah, I did learn, unfortunately, this morning that the Rams are out, Sia, but you used a very interesting word. You said precipice, which had me thinking, what the hell does precipice mean? No idea what that means. Never heard it before in my life, but just a little bit of, education here to the new bettors. Whatever team has the smallest number, that is the most likely to happen. So plus 175 for the 49ers. I'm going to take the favorite here. That way, when the favorites who should win, I look like the all-star out of the group.
That's true, and it's a good pick. I like the Niners, whether it's plus 175 or otherwise. All right, let's get to our next marquee matchup before we get into some golf talk. By the way, Japan, I see your pick in there. I'll tell you what, spoiler alert, I kind of like that pick. Let's talk about Bill Belichick's landing spot. Proppy, I'm going to start with you again. I mean, this is really interesting because I think the conventional wisdom at this point, and I've heard from kind of trusted sources like Michael Lombardi. I listened to his podcast, and he was pretty adamant about the fact that Bill Belichick wants to coach. This is what he does, and he's going to come back. We got the Falcons as the favorite to land Bill Belichick, then the Chargers, then it's my Commanders at plus 600, the Titans, and then there's an option for any other NFL team. And let's be honest, there could be a team with a coach that seems like he's in pretty good shape. When Bill Belichick is on the doorstep, all of a sudden, it might not look so good for that coach. So I think any other team at plus 600 is at least interesting. But probably before I go to you, I will say that not every state has these odds. So just keep that in mind. If your state doesn't have this, it's more of a fun exercise than a betting one. But Proppy, if you had to bet this, where would you go?
Yeah, so I like where you're at regarding, a team not listed here. I do think, even my Philadelphia Eagles could potentially emerge. You have other viable teams as well who have yet to make the decision regarding their coaching, the outlook for the offseason as far as the coach is concerned. So, yeah, I definitely think some other options are in play. As far as the teams listed, I think the Falcons just make so much sense when you have an owner like Arthur Blank who will hand the whole entire reins over to Bill Belichick, just allowing him to have or assume full control of personnel decisions. So I really think the Falcons make a lot of sense from that standpoint, having an owner like that who is hands-off and who will trust Bill Belichick. Also, the roster of Atlanta, you have a very young nucleus. You have 3 top 10 skill position players, potentially elite offensive weapons. We obviously know, in Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Bijan Robinson they're a quarterback away from being, a truly, truly explosive, really good offense. So the defense played well this season in spurts there. So, yeah, I think the Falcons just make so much sense as a potential landing spot. Checks all the boxes for me.
All right. And by the way, Mike McClure is in the chat. Bradley Jacobs, I'm not even sure what he's referring to, but he says, this is why Mike McClure is the best in the business. Again, I don't even know the context, but I know that's an appropriate comment. So good for you, Bradley Jacobs, for doling out the obvious. By the way, me and Mike and Meg Shop will be on Fantasy Football Today DFS, giving out our favorite DFS plays for the NFL divisional round. So that's at 11 o'clock on the Fantasy Football Today YouTube channel. So please come join us for that. Danny Brasco, where do we like Bill Belichick to land?
I got to agree with Proppy. It's probably the Atlanta Falcons. Reports are saying that he wants to go to a team that has youth and has talent, but needs development. That's sort of the ideal Belichick building situation. And also, look, it's the shortest odds, so it's sort of a boring pick. But I got to think to myself, if you're Bill Belichick, you want to go into a new situation, go take a look at the NFC South. Is there a more winnable division by picking any young rebuild team? Belichick could go in there with a couple broken toys and win the division. So I like him to go Atlanta. Throw the bankroll at Bill. Maybe he brings Bill O'Brien with him, run the offense. So, yeah, give me Bill Belichick to the Falcons.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that too. Buckets, I'm going to kick it to you. And I just want to say, Mike McClure, he says a reminder that the DFS show isn't just DFS. That's true. It's a lot of sides, totals, props, and futures talk in there as well. I try to queue everything up I can in that. Usually it's about 45 minutes to 55 minutes of talk for Mike McClure to just dole out as much information as he can. And of course, I try to dole out as much information as I can. I actually took down a tournament last week, first place out of 2,400. So that one felt good. We'll have a nice show at 11 o'clock. Buckets, you got an answer for this one?
I don't think I have an answer, Sia, mainly because I don't know who Will Belichick is. So I think I should just sit this one out and, save everyone the time there.
Will Belichick. That's amazing. Who was it? David Talk says, Belichick, just retire, man. Sounds like a Dolphins or Jets fan, maybe a Bills fan to me, David Talk. Thanks for being in the chat. Don't forget to hit the like button, especially since I'm about to give out some first-round leaders and some outrights. But before I do that, let's hear a message from our partners.
Another chapter in one of the NFL's most epic rivalries.
Kansas City and the Bills have had some epic matchups, to say the least. Could be another one here.
I'll say this about Bill Belichick. Gregory Hill is absolutely right. Commanders have the number 2 pick. I believe they have 5 picks within the top 100, and they have a ton of cap space. So given that they do have some skill position players, on the offensive side of the ball, they've got some pieces on the defensive side of the ball. I don't think the Commanders at plus 600 is a terrible option. Again, with an owner that you would think, just like Arthur Blank, is going to give Bill Belichick plenty of rope. So really smart comment there from the chat as usual. All right, let's get into, before our official picks, let's get into my American Express first round leaders. Now, Mike McClure in the chat, he clarified that there's 3 courses here. It's a really weird kind of thing. It's a 3-course rotation. Each of the players is going to play on each of the 3 courses. And that means that the cut, instead of happening on Friday, is actually going to happen on Saturday. So these players are guaranteed 3 rounds. And then the 4th round will be on the stadium course for those who made the cut. So I didn't want to do 2, 2, and 2 because I didn't find value 2, 2, and 2. So I have 1 pick as a first round leader in the stadium course, and that's going to be Patton Kizzire, who's really been on fire as of late. 30-1. Again, these odds are slightly reduced because they're split up among the courses. We don't have everybody with the same odds. We have odds for the stadium course, Nicklaus course, and La Quinta course as it pertains to the first round leader. Outright, a different story. Nicklaus course, I've got Steven Yeager, who's really been striking it well. Really good candidate as a first round leader in general. He's 20-1. Taylor Pendrith has really been coming on. If this game sustains itself, you're going to be hearing a lot about Taylor Pendrith at 30-1 and Carl Yuan at 50-1. This is really, truly a long shot. He's first to go out in the morning, which actually isn't a huge break for him, considering how cold it'll be when he gets out there in the morning. Most of my guys are more of the mid-morning type when it warms up just a little bit. But Carl Yuan's been playing really well, so 50-1, I'll take a shot there. The La Quinta course, I do want to point out, this is the course where all the heavy hitters are starting. And what by heavy hitters, I'm talking the Schefflers, the Patrick Cantlays, the Xander Schauffele's. So it's going to be tougher for guys like Davis Thompson and Chris Kirk to break through. But I like both of these guys, especially Chris Kirk, 25-1. Davis Thompson, kind of an up-and-comer. The ball striking has really started to look good for Davis Thompson. I thought 40-1. I'm willing to take a shot there. Now let's get to my outrights. This isn't course specific. This is just an outright. They got to go through all 4 rounds and win this thing. Sung J.M. at 22-1. Really good course fit. Eric Cole, you want to score on this course. And Eric Cole, while he doesn't win a lot, he hasn't won on the PGA Tour yet, he is a flat-out scorer, and I think he's getting close. Good course fit here at 35-1. I already mentioned Chris Kirk. He's already won in 2024, and I really don't hold that against him. I think he can absolutely win again 2 weeks later at the American Express. Love the 45-1. And then let's go YOLO with Taylor Pendrith. It is a long shot, but again, the way his game is emerging, it wouldn't shock me if he's somewhere near the top of the leaderboard. Now, he is a crash and burn type guy. He's a boom or bust is what I'm trying to say. So he can miss the cut. But if he is on like he's been on lately, he could absolutely be near the top of the leaderboard on Sunday. So that is my sort of long shot outright. I mean, listen, I went 22-1 or deeper. If I wanted to go shorter, it would probably be Patrick Cantlay at 10-1. But I'm just not willing to go shorter at this particular tournament. So Sung J.M. is the longest or the shortest odds I decided to go with. By the way, so we'll have an official pick on golf on round 1 coming up. But don't forget, SportsLine, we've got Mike's simulations in there in terms of his outright simulations, implied odds, implied probabilities, stuff like that on SportsLine. And the early wedge is coming back. Our first show, I believe, is this coming Tuesday for the Farmers at 7 o'clock. You'll want to tune in for that. I'll also have a round matchup tomorrow on this very show. All right. That was a lot of talking by me. Hopefully, listen, you don't have to play all those first round leaders. If it's too many, pick 3 that you like. I mean, those are bets that, we just want to sprinkle. It's kind of like a first touchdown score bet. The more gimmicky than anything. It just so happens I hit these at a somewhat often rate, which is kind of weird, but that's ends up what's happening. So Buckets, we got to get to your pick. I got to stop talking. We got to get to your pick. But before we do that, let me just tell everybody about BetMGM, because new BetMGM customers can sign up today and get $158 in bonus bets. If you're wondering where that number came from, you're probably not too tied into the Super Bowl. It's Super Bowl 58. So new BetMGM customers can sign up today and get $158 in bonus bets. Just place your first wager of at least $5 and you'll receive $158 instantly in bonus bets, regardless of your wager's outcome, with bonus code EDGE158. That's EDGE158. Just to clarify, you bet $5, win or lose, you get $158. Key word here, instantly in bonus bets. Really good deal from BetMGM as usual. All right, Buckets. I teased it at the beginning of the show. We got a game at 2 o'clock. What's really cool is for this show, we have picks throughout the day, right? We've got the golf picks. Golf starts, by the way, in about an hour. We've got your soccer picks starting at 2. We've got the NBA and NCAA picks. We got NFL starting this weekend. This whole day is covered. And it starts with golf, and then it goes to the 2 o'clock match. What do you got?
See, I'm looking at the Supercoppa Italiana matchup between Napoli and Fiorentina, and I think I finally did it, everybody. I found an absolutely terrible line where the wrong team is favored here. Napoli are the favorites, while Fiorentina are sitting closer to a plus 190, and I believe Fiorentina is winning this outright. The numbers that we are getting only make sense if we look at Napoli as a club last season. Napoli are the Scudetto winners. However, Napoli are not the same right now. They're 8th on the Serie A table, and most importantly in this matchup, 2 things. Number 1, Victor Osimhen is not available. He is on international duty with Nigeria, and if you have no Osimhen, you have no party. And number 2, there's no home field advantage because this match is being played in Saudi Arabia for the Supercoppa Italiana. So I'm taking Fiorentina to qualify. They are the better team, they are the more consistent team, and they have more players available right now. Because this is a cup match, if this match is still tied up after 90 minutes and after extra time, they will go to penalty kicks. What the to qualify bet does is it means as long as Fiorentina ends up winning, whether it's full time, extra time, or penalty kicks, this ticket will still pay. If you do not have this available on your book, I am fine taking Fiorentina draw no bet at the same odds. But in my mind, there is no reason that a Napoli side that has only won 1 of their last 5 should be favored against a Fiorentina team this strong. Sia.
All right. Fat Stack says you better listen to Buckets. The man is psychic, and we have what I'm assuming is a Fiorentina shirt being held up by Danny Brasco. Buckets, can you confirm?
They're called kits, Sia. You need to kind of clean up a bit here. But yes, that's a beautiful looking kit, Danny.
A kit is a shirt in soccer?
A kit is the equivalent of a jersey in your sports.
Yeah, but that was a shirt. Is that a jersey?
Come on, back. Yeah.
It's a jersey.
Yeah, I mean, okay. That looks like a t-shirt to me. Chad, do you agree with me? That definitely looks like a t-shirt. You got to the jersey's got to have some glossy material to it, right? I mean, what are we doing?
You got to feel it really. But to be honest, Buckets, this is from the brief period I was in Florence where Mario Gomez was on the team, and that did not work out well. So this actually, Sia, isn't a great jersey to rock, to be fair.
Wow. And Proppy, by the way, your mother is, correct me if I'm wrong, is she from Florence?
She is. Hopefully she's watching right now. My mother is a native Florentine, though, so shout out the beautiful region of Tuscany.
Wow, a lot of Florence ties on this show. We're so multicultural. I love it. And Buddy Gonzalez agrees. It's just a shirt. That's no jersey. All right. I'll change the subject. It's not a big deal at the end of the day. Looks like a t-shirt, says Bradley Jacobs. Eduardo Diaz, they are shirts. Come on. These soccer leagues got to step it up. All right. Let me get to my golf pick. I talked a lot of golf, so I'm going to keep this one short. I've got Chris Kirk minus 115 over Wyndham Clark. I know some sharp people that are on Wyndham Clark here, which actually kind of confuses me. Chris Kirk is in really good form. He played on the Hawaii swing the last 2 tournaments. He was really good in both. Obviously, he won one of those. And he plays Wyndham Clark, who has kind of been broken for, 6 months or so. I think Wyndham Clark is a good course fit. It's kind of a new season for him, so he could be back in form. And if he is, then he can absolutely contend in this matchup and perhaps win it. But Chris Kirk, I think, should be a bigger favorite over Wyndham Clark, given the state of Wyndham Clark's game right now. I'm willing to roll the dice and say, hey, Wyndham Clark doesn't have his game back because I haven't seen it in quite some time. So give me Chris Kirk minus 115. This is a round one matchup. If your book doesn't have this matchup, maybe you can put it in the chat. Otherwise, message me on Twitter. People are doing that all the time, and we're cashing tickets on bets that they sort of just lob my way, and I say whether I like it or not. So give me Chris Kirk minus 115 over Wyndham Clark. All right, we got to get to the SportsLine plays. We got to get to Danny Brasco's plays. We got to get to Propstarz plays, but we got to get to a break right now.
It's
Adam Frey, Chris Kirk versus Adam Hadwin. I like it. I don't love it because Adam Hadwin at this particular tournament has really good results. That would probably be a stay away. Kirk over Cameron Davis. I like that a little bit better than Kirk over Hadwin. I'd probably be willing to play the Kirk over Cameron Davis play. I don't like it as much as my Kirk over Clark play. All right, the SportsLine site plays. Illinois minus 2.5. Illinois faces Michigan at 8:30 tonight. Illinois is only a 2.5 point favorite, which is a little surprising. It looks a little trappy to me, but I'd be on Illinois too. That is a SportsLine site play. Colorado minus 6 is the next one. Oregon faces Colorado. Colorado's looked pretty good this year. They are 6-point favorites. Again, Colorado minus 6, Illinois minus 2.5. Those are two SportsLine plays. Danny, we finally get to some UFC. We finally get to some shadow boxing and a little NFL for us as well. You, my friend, have the floor.
Let's go, Sia. UFC 297 out of Toronto is an epic card. So everyone lock in. And Proppy earlier was talking about Dricus du Plessis and Sean Strickland. That's the main event. And you'll have to watch Early Edge tomorrow for my main event picks. Let's kick it off with a little prelims parlay. I haven't done any of these in a while, but on this card in Toronto, there's a lot of Canadian fighters featured, and they're big favorites. So I do think that they're slated to win, a number of them at least. I'm going to combine the ones that I feel most confident in. And let's kick it off with Jasmine Jazz Davicius and Charles Air Jourdain for a little two-leg parlay. It's going to get us minus 108 odds. I feel there's value on both of them, actually. Jazz Davicius is a big favorite, so it might not be that exciting to back her as the first leg. But, man, this girl is a Canadian fighter that the fans are going to be excited to see. She will walk down her opponent. The constant forward pressure, her striking has gotten a lot better, and she's a very accomplished wrestler. Jazz Davicius, one of those fighters that will just walk through the fire. Her opponent, Priscilla Cachoeira, big power puncher, has good pop in her shots for the division, but I don't think she'll be able to stay off her back. Jazz Davicius, tough name to say, should walk her down. Combine her with Charles Jourdain, a guy that just keeps getting better throughout his career, really explosive featherweight that has now learned how to fight a technical, measured fight. And he's been cutting, iron sharpens iron, as they say. He's been cutting his teeth against good competition. Nathaniel Wood, Andre Feely, Shane Burgos, good fighters that he's narrowly lost to. Even some feel he beat Shane Burgos, but is only getting better. Against Sean Woodson here, I think he's going to be a level better than him. Woodson is a very long, rangy boxer, but if Jourdain can get inside that range or even hit low kicks on those long, lanky legs, I think he should have his way with him. So give me that little two-leg parlay in UFC 297. Like I said, be sure to watch tomorrow for my main event picks. It's a thrilling main event. On to NFL. Let's go to the gridiron, Sia. And surprise, surprise, I am on another under. Divisional round, Texans versus Ravens under 43.5. Number one, we always talk about the key number of 43, right? Super key. I'm going to grab it here while it's just above it now. This total's on the move. It opened at 46, has moved significantly. We see even after the line move, these lines are still quite profitable. And it's moved so heavily because early money, which is typically the pros, the sharp action, heavily backing this under. About 50+% of the public bets are on the over, but over 90% of the early money backing the under. And I think that's because CJ Stroud, for all his successes, is a dome stadium quarterback. You take him in cold Baltimore against this Ravens secondary, man, it's going to be tough for him. I expect to see some regression there. And I can see this turning into a war in the trenches. The Texans also have a quite good rush success rate on defense, as do the Baltimore Ravens. So this might be a game of possession, ground and pound, and who can make fewer mistakes. I expect the Texans to play two deep safeties, take the big plays away, and try to make this just really a grinding war where D'Amico Ryan's team has been pretty scrappy, Sia. So give me the under 43.5 in a good divisional game that I expect the Ravens to probably come away with as well.
Yeah, Danny, to your point about the weather, we're looking at, I'm actually looking at Buckets with the Dikembe Mutombo. What's going on, Buckets?
No. You can talk about the weather here in a second, Danny, but I've been waiting for like a month to call you out on a UFC showdown, and I finally saw something that I disagree with. You are taking Charles Jourdain against Sean Woodson, and I do not agree because I am a big advocate for the taller guy's going to win. Sean Woodson has 7 inches of height over Jourdain and has like 9 inches on his reach over Jourdain. And Sean Woodson, yes, he's going to get pieced up a little bit, but he's the kind of guy that just loves taking these kind of things to decisions. He has a record of 10-1-1 with 6 wins via decision. This is the kind of guy that will frustrate you, he will tire you out, and he will keep his distance, as boring as it might make the fight, because he knows that's how he's going to win. I disagree with your parlay. I love the first leg. That'll hit no problem. But, baby, that's a showdown all day. Sean the Sniper Woodson is going to take down, probably not take down, but he will beat Charles Jourdain on the card.
Wow. So, Sia, how should we do that? Because Jourdain is now about a -200 favorite. How do
take it outright? I'll take it outright.
Oh my God!
Wow. Switching.
This is a thing that he does.
I've been known to lose many a showdown via this manner, but no, give me Sean the Sniper Woodson outright. Ignore the first part of the parlay. All I care about is this fight.
Danny, credit to you for asking the question, since you have the big edge there. But the floor is yours if you want to take the showdown.
I mean, Buckets, I like the points you made about Woodson. I would say, though, we've seen him lapse against lesser competition. His fight IQ in the 3rd round is questionable, as I like to say. So, Snake, play the music.
Wow.
It's gonna be a showdown.
That was impressive.
My fight IQ is also questionable there, Danny, so it's fine with me.
With an
Look
accent.
no further than Will Belichick. Will Belichick, indeed. All right. So, by the way, I was going to comment on that Texans-Ravens under before. I'm happy I was interrupted because that was pretty cool. But it's looking like, and Danny references, 24, 25 degrees with winds in the 15 to 20 mile per hour range. So that certainly does cater to a much different environment than CJ Stroud is used to playing at home. Something to keep in mind there. By the way, Proppy, do you have, before we get to your picks, do you have a pick on this showdown? Because you know UFC pretty well. Which side are you on here?
I wish I did, unfortunately. I'm unfamiliar with these fighters here, so I'm going to have to defer to the experts here. In that case, Danny. I'll be on Danny's side for this. I'm sorry, Buckets. I love you, brother, but I'm going to go with Danny's side here.
I just like the idea that the one guy has a name that sounds like Michael Jordan. So Air Jordan, indeed. I think that's probably the direction I'm going to go. All right, Proppy. We get to you, and you've got 2 props to give out, and everybody knows that's a SportsLine member, knows you got the Monday and the Thursday article with prop picks. They know they can get your prop picks early on SportsLine because you put them out there, then the line changes. So you got a couple props, which I imagine probably were already in your article or already on SportsLine, but they're right here, right now. If you're watching the show, you have the floor.
That's right, Sia. I appreciate it, and it's hard to follow up that showdown. I do want to point out before I break down both of these props, I am looking forward to seeing tomorrow Danny's take on the main event, so I'll be tuning in for that. But yeah, I've got a pair of props that I like quite a bit, starting with Jordan Poole. Sia, I hate to pick on your Washington Wizards, but yeah, we're going Jordan Poole under 16.5 points. If you have not been following Jordan Poole, this is one of the most just tragic falls from graces that I've seen in NBA history. I believe it was something around 450 days ago. Jordan Poole had signed a 4-year contract with the Warriors for close to $180 million, if I'm not mistaken. He was thought to usher in the next generation after Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green retire. Had plenty of postseason success. Obviously, we know what happened with Draymond last year. Had a really tough season. Gets traded for Chris Paul in the offseason to the Wizards. Has a complete green light on a rebuilding Washington team, and he has not been bad. He has been absolutely dreadful. He is worst in the NBA in plus-minus rating by a significant margin, historically bad. His efficiency has plummeted. His counting stats are bad. The metrics are absolutely dismal, and he plays absolutely no defense either. Not even playing close to 30 minutes a night either. Just been a massive headache for so many reasons. You can look up instead of a highlight, just lowlights from Jordan Poole, just making some of the worst decisions you have seen in the NBA. If he continues at this rate, wouldn't surprise me if he is playing overseas in the next year or two, or when this contract expires. He may be the most untradeable asset in the league right now. So he is playing against the Knicks tonight. The Knicks are a top 10 defense. They just acquired OG Anunoby, who's one of the better perimeter defenders in the NBA. He is going to be guarding Jordan Poole as well. So I think Jordan Poole is going to continue to struggle. And it is hard to watch right now in Washington. So we're going under 16.5 points there. And then we're going to go to Oklahoma City. Josh Giddey. We're going over 9.5 combined rebounds and assists for Giddey. Giddey's kind of like a point guard / point forward. It's been an interesting year on the court for Giddey. His numbers are all down. Last year he played a lot more. His usage was higher. He averaged more counting stats. This year he's playing less, but the team is phenomenal. They're second in the Western Conference. They're defying all preseason expectations. Giddey's still performing somewhat well. I like the spot tonight, though, against the Utah Jazz for him to pile up at least 10 rebounds and assists. Reason being, Utah does not play a lot of defense. They're also play at a really fast pace. They're ranked 6th in possessions per game. As we know, more possessions lead to more assists and rebound opportunities there. They're also playing really good basketball. I believe they've won 5 games consecutively, the Jazz. So I think this game could be a high-scoring variety. The total is high as well. Also, one other component that I like is Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, MVP candidate, usage monster, was questionable for the Oklahoma City's last game. He ended up suiting up, but if he is questionable again tonight, the injury report is not yet to be released, and misses this game, this number will tick up to like 14.5 or even higher. So we get a massive, it's kind of like a free roll. So we get a massive discount if that happens. Even if that doesn't happen, I'm still very confident that Giddey racks up at least 10 combined rebounds and assists tonight.
Love the free roll nature of some of these NBA plays because, again, in the NBA specifically, we're not exactly sure if questionable is going to mean they're playing or they're not. So you kind of got something built into some of these props where you might be getting a great number. By the way, some golf questions that I just want to answer real quick. So where can you find the Kirk over Clark play? It looks like you can find it at BetMGM and certainly on DraftKings as well. The one thing I want to implore upon people, because some people say they can't find it, a lot of people who are new to golf betting, they're clicking on golf, and the first thing you see is usually tournament matchups as opposed to round matchups. You have to look towards the top, and you actually have to scroll over to round 1 2 balls or round 2 balls or round matchups. You got to see that terminology, and that's where you find the round matchups because the default is going to be on the tournament matchups most likely at your sportsbook. So again, you have to kind of use your eyes a little bit, look up, and just make sure you're on the right thing because tournament matchups, again, will likely be the default. All right, I think we covered everything. We got a showdown in. We got the sports line picks in. We got NBA. We got soccer. We got UFC. We got NFL. I think we covered it all. Ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look at the recap screen real quick. We've got Fiorentina. This one's at 2 o'clock to qualify at -105. Danny Brasco, Jasmine Jazdavicius. I think I said that right. Moneyline plus Charles Air Jordan. Moneyline -108. And we got the Texans Ravens under 43.5 at -105. I've got a round 1 matchup, Chris Turk -115 over Wyndham Clark. It looks like at BetMGM, that might be +105. So check that out. Propstarz, Jordan Poole under 16.5 points at -120. Josh Giddey over 9.5 rebounds and assists at -115. We got 2 site plays in college basketball. Illinois -2.5 and Colorado -6. That show was absolutely packed. And hopefully tomorrow's show, Big Pick Energy Friday, hopefully it's packed initially with a bunch of green check marks, maybe a first round leader. That would be pretty cool. But for the here and now, we're done with this show. On behalf of Propstarz, on behalf of Danny Brasco, Buckets, Jake the Snake on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s, this is the Early Edge. I am the counselor of cash, and we rest our case.